guys, we're gonna make some meatballs. So what you're gonna need is a bowl or whatever to put your ground beef. And I like to use extra lean ground beef. I've already cleaned and washed my hands. And I just crumble it up. I hope you can see me. My kitchen is not the friendliest for cooking. I'm gonna tell you that. Cooking videos. I usually buy the big family packs of ground beef, and then I just go ahead and just separate them into portions. Saves money. Once I have that pretty well separated, I'm gonna just move my plant. I had it sitting in the sink because I watered it. Okay, so we've got the ground beef in there. We're now gonna add about half of a chopped onion. Now I'm not doing what the original recipe called for, which was like a pound of ground beef. So I'm doing a smaller portion, so I'm gonna put probably, I don't know, maybe quarter of a cup of chopped onion. The rest of it goes into the sauce portion of this recipe. And I like to buy this minced garlic paste. I'm going to put in a teaspoon of the minced garlic. You can put basically as much as you want. We're going to put in breadcrumbs. The original recipe calls for a cup of breadcrumbs, but again, I don't have that much ground beef, so I put about half a cup of breadcrumbs. And we're going to put an egg. And I'm going to put, this is oregano, and I'm putting about, I don't know, a quarter of a teaspoon of oregano in there. And then I have some basil leaves. I'm going to put about the same amount of basil leaves. I'm going to put some salt, and this is my favorite salt, which is the Himalayan pink salt, and it comes with a salt grinder. So, not too much because this salt is super salty, like it's really intense. And I'm going to put a little bit of black pepper. This is also has a grinder. And I also have these herbs, and they are pizza pasta Italian seasoning. And there is one in here that is called Italian herbs, which has sea salt, parsley, thyme, rosemary, basil, oregano. I'm going to add a little bit of that. Like maybe half a teaspoon of that. I'm going to actually add also a little bit of the sun-dried tomato. It's got sun-dried tomato and garlic. So I'm going to add just a little bit of it. I'm just going to shake it on. And then I'm going to mix this up. Okay, so I've got some olive oil on my fry pan, ready to go. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking a couple of tablespoons of the ground beef mixture, and then I'm just rolling it up into a meatball shape, and I'm going to put those in the fry pan. And I'm just going to start browning these ones. So when the meatballs are brown, they don't have to be fully cooked. You just want to have them browned. I will go ahead, I put some paper towel in the bowl, this bowl, and I'm just going to lay them in there. Okay, so I've added everything into the crock pot. So what I added was the rest of the onion, so about half a cup of diced onion or finely chopped onion. Then I added 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. I added 1 teaspoon of the minced garlic. I added a can of diced tomatoes. The can that I used has Italian herbs in it and spices, but you could use just a plain can of diced tomatoes. You could probably also use stewing tomatoes, would actually probably be really good for this as well. And then I added a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of basil, salt and pepper, and then I added 2 bay leaves. And then I also added a teaspoon of sweetener. Now you can use sugar. I'm diabetic, so I have to use the sweetener. And now I am going to cover this, put this in the fridge overnight, and then I will put it on the slow cooker tomorrow and let this cook for 6 to 8 hours. I have a really small slow cooker, so I had to really shove those meatballs in there. But if you had a larger slow cooker, it would probably work a lot better. But a very simple recipe, and when it's done, I'll show you the end results. Okay, so this is the end result of my meatballs and sauce that I did in the slow cooker. It smells so good in here. It really does smell super delicious. I did up some spaghettini, and I've overfilled my plate. I don't think I'm going to be able to eat all of this, but I'll save the rest for later. And I've got like 3/4 of my crock pot still full of meatballs and sauce. So what I'll do is I'll let this cool down, and then I'll put it in freezer bags, freeze it, and I'll have probably 3 more meals out of this. So I did have a little sip of the sauce, and it tasted so good. I'm super pleased with this recipe. So I'm going to put the original recipe link in the description box below, and I actually am really excited about this, and I highly recommend it. Wow. Okay guys, I'm off to eat my supper. So I just wanted to give you a little tip. So I buy the cans of the tomato paste, and I can never use all of the tomato paste up. Like, I always end up, like for the example, this recipe I just did only called for 2 tablespoons. So what I do, because it's not good to leave them in the can, what I do is I just take the leftover tomato paste and I put it in a Ziploc sandwich bag. And if I know that I'm not going to use it right away, I freeze it. You can freeze it and then unthaw it and use it in a recipe. But I'm just going to throw it in my fridge. It'll last probably up to a week in the fridge. And I will probably make something else. And in a day or two, if I know that I'm not going to make something else that has tomato paste, I will go ahead and just freeze it. I don't like throwing stuff out or spending $1. I know it's only $1 or 79 cents or whatever to buy the tomato paste, but it just seems like a waste, especially when you're cooking for 1 person. It is Monday afternoon. I got up this morning, threw my crock pot on, the meatballs are cooking. I'm kind of looking forward to them. Even though I'm starting to feel a little bit nauseous right now. I went to have a bath and my taps would not stop running. I mean, they're not running like full force, but they're running significantly. So I hurried up, had my bath, called my landlord. He came over, and I guess the O-rings are gone on the tap, so he's going to have to replace them tomorrow. So I've had to open my bathroom window, Keep my bathroom door closed because the tap is running and I can really hear it. It's a little bit annoying, but I'll just have to handle it till tomorrow. And I just did this face mask. It is supposed to be a moisturizing shea butter type mask and with olive oil and shea butter, and so I'm hoping it helps a little bit with the dryness. I am totally blind without my glasses, so I just put them on. I'll just clean the mask off after. I can't see. I can't go 15-20 minutes without seeing. My face is feeling a little bit like it's tightening, so I don't know. I don't wear makeup because it really, really irritates my skin. My skin is ultra super sensitive, and so I don't wear makeup very, very often. I will once in a blue moon, but I still like to do like a beauty skin regimen. I like to try to look after my skin as well as I can. Chemo medications, radiation treatments. I've been through so many radiation treatments. It is very harsh on your skin, and so I mean, I want to try to grow old as gracefully as I can. And I know that my skin has really aged since a lot of the cancer treatments, but I do try to at least, take care of my skin somewhat. So I'm going to let this mask do its magic and then take it off. So it's Monday night. I've had my supper, which, by the way, the meatballs and spaghettini was delicious. I really love that recipe. I'll make sure the link is in the description box below so you can check out the original recipe. But I wanted to take a moment to share a little bit about my personal experience with depression. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a list of some of the symptoms of depression. So I went on to cancer.org and I looked up symptoms of depression. So I'm just going to read the list, and I'm just reading it off my iPad here. So number 1 is ongoing sadness, hopelessness, or empty mood for most of the day. Number 2, loss of interest or pleasure in almost all activities most of the time. Number 3, major weight loss when not dieting and or weight gain. Number 4, being slowed down or restless and agitated almost every day, enough for others to notice. Number 5, extreme tiredness, fatigue, or loss of energy. Number 6, trouble sleeping with early waking, sleeping too much, or not being able to sleep. And number 7, trouble focusing thoughts, remembering, or making decisions. Number 8, feeling guilty, worthless, or helpless. Number 9, frequent thoughts of death or suicide. Not just fear of death, but suicide plans or attempts. Now, I will say that I have not had the last one. I haven't really thought, I'd like to kill myself and just get this over. I've sometimes thought, things like, well, maybe I would be better off not being here, or what's the point of being here alive? But I've never really had suicide thoughts. So out of that whole list, that is the only symptom that I have not had. I think everyone really kind of knows, or at least somewhat understands, that having cancer is a very difficult thing. It's difficult to deal with physically, and it's also difficult to deal with emotionally and psychologically. When you find out that you have cancer, it can be very difficult to deal with emotionally. After I received my cancer diagnosis, I didn't get the depression right away. I've always had anxiety, and the anxiety has always been a part of my life since I was a very, very young child. I will do a video in the near future discussing my anxiety journey because it's been crazy. But I didn't really see myself as depressed. It has taken me a long time to admit to myself that yes, I do suffer from depression. When I first got my diagnosis in around May of 2014, I started treatment like right away. And I started with the interferon injections 3 times a week. Now, one of the main side effects of the interferon is depression. And I did find myself feeling a bit down, feeling a bit low, not as much, didn't have as much desire to do things like my art or crafts or my sculpting or my crochet or knitting. I kind of lost interest in a lot of the activities that I normally enjoyed. And I mean, it didn't all happen at once, but it was a slow process. I just found myself not really enjoying them, not really wanting to do them. And so that first, I would say 12 months after getting my diagnosis, I did feel a little bit down, but I wouldn't necessarily say I was severely depressed. It has actually been probably the last year that I've really noticed the depression. I really put up a front. When I started to find myself feeling depressed, I really started to put up a front. I didn't really want people to know how I was feeling. I denied it. Not only to them, but to myself as well. I think I was embarrassed. And, you know, you get kind of this stigmatization attached with mental illness. And I guess I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed that I was feeling this way. My depression really has been a struggle for me. It wasn't until I admitted, okay, I think I'm depressed, that I actually was able to start getting help for it. And the first thing that they did was put me back on antidepressants. I see a psychologist, I see a psychiatrist, and I work with my medical team to not only now look after my physical health, not only look after cancer treatments and treatments for my other illnesses, not only changing my diet and eating habits to be more healthier, but to be more healthy emotionally and psychologically as well. And that is important. Your mental health is very, very, very important. When I say that it is so much easier to fight cancer when you have a positive outlook than a negative, that is the absolute truth. It is difficult to fight anything, let alone cancer, which is, in my opinion, the most difficult challenge I have ever had to face in my lifetime. And if you have cancer or you know somebody that has cancer, maybe a loved one, you know that what I'm saying is absolutely true. It is hard. And it is even more difficult to face it, to fight it, to find the strength if you're feeling down, if you're feeling low, if you're feeling negative. I'm going to tell you this, that sometimes you have to force yourself to be positive. Sometimes you literally have to force yourself to be positive. I'm not positive every day. I am not positive all the time. I'm a human being. I have emotions. I have feelings. I have fears. It is impossible. I believe it's impossible to be positive all the time. But I do take steps to try to make sure that I am as positive as I possibly can be. A tool that I use to try to keep my spirits lifted up is inspirational quotes. So I'll often just go look for inspirational quotes, wall art, that kind of stuff, to give me motivation, to help inspire me. And I do that almost every day, I would have to say. The other thing that I do is I use my Facebook page a lot to share my feelings, whether my friends want to read it or not, but that doesn't matter. But at least I am able to express myself. And by the way, if you'd like to add me onto Facebook, you can find me at Tammy Angela Kindred, and you can either follow me or send me a friend request. I love to meet more Facebook friends and share, my feelings and thoughts and stuff with people. I love it. The other thing that I did was start this YouTube channel. I did this not only to hopefully help other people, but to help myself and to help my family. It's been very difficult on my family as well to watch me have to go through this. And especially my mother. It's been very therapeutic to be able to document basically my journey and share it with my family and friends and with you. But I am going to share one thing, and I'm not trying to push my religious views on anybody, but it's very important to me. The number one thing that has helped me is God. And having that faith and that prayer and being able to go to Him and tell Him, Lord, I'm scared. Or Lord, help me through this, please, Jesus. It is such a privilege to be able to do that. He has helped me through so much. God never lets me down. He's always there. And I pray to Him and He helps me through it. So there is help, and again, God has helped me so much. But I'm going to leave some numbers and that information in the description box below that you can contact and just to talk to somebody if you feel that maybe you have some symptoms of depression, or maybe you're a caregiver or a loved one in your family has cancer and you just feel, maybe they need some help. But definitely it's not something to be ashamed of. I think almost everybody who has cancer at one time or another faces depression. So, yeah, that's just my little spiel about it.
If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel,